Diese Konferenz wird nun aufgezeichnet.
Hello everyone, and special greetings to the authorities, to the European Commission, to the governments, to all the investigators for food fraud. Hello to all the consumers and all of the beekeepers around Europe and the world. I'm the president of the European Professional Beekeeping Association, and this is Bernhard Heuvel from Germany right now. And I have a special message to you for today, and it is we just got the results of the honey DNA testing, and we took samples from the German supermarkets, and we found out that 80% of all the samples we took are adulterated honey. And yes, it's a bad situation, and I prepared some slides for you to explain what we did and what we found and what we will do about it. Hang on a second. I will just share my screen with you. So, as I said, welcome to the European Professional Beekeepers Association, and I'm also the vice president of the German Professional Beekeeping Association, and talking to you also, from that part there too. All right, let's start. So, what is the situation of the professional beekeepers in Europe? Mario Calvet, the vice president of the EPBA, and I were traveling at the start of this year all around South and Eastern Europe, like Italy, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and so on. I'm in contact with all the beekeepers around Europe, the professional beekeepers, that is. And the situation is that all the stores are full of honey, and nobody is able to sell honey in bulk, which is going on for a couple of years right now. And this means there's a lot of consequences for the families of the beekeepers because there's no income. And if there's no income, there's a lot of trouble going on, of course, because all the costs are still going on. You have to pay somehow for the family, for the bees, and make a living from the bees. That's what we are doing as professional beekeepers. We are producing honey, and we sell it, and that's our income. And since 2 years, we are not able to sell it. And in some countries, even 75% of the professional beekeepers close down forever. And this will be the case in a lot of countries, and for example, in Germany, this will have consequences because we are just 1% of all beekeepers as professional beekeepers, but we keep about 40 to 45% of all bee colonies. And if professional beekeepers shut down their business, or even if they just downsize their business, there will be the pollination endangered because there are no bees anymore there. That will be a big problem. And the missing pollination, that will be as big as a problem as is the climate change, I promise, because the bees has a key point there in the nature and in the natural ecosystem, and this will have dramatic and drastic consequences. So what's going on and what happened that the honey market broke down and nobody buys any honey anymore. In 2021, the Americans, the US, shut down the borders for cheap honey, and this consequence was that 50,000 tons less was imported to the US, and at the same time in the European countries, or in Europe, the importation increased by 50,000 tons. Of course, they did not took back the cheap honey that they tried to import to USA. So they just moved it to Europe and sold it there. And this is going on now since then, since today. And the cheap honey is flooding the market. cheap honey maybe is not a problem by itself, but if it's raw honey, it is a problem because we have to compete worldwide with other honey producers, of course, but we cannot produce with complete fake honey. If it's fake honey and if it's syrup, pure sugar that appears to be honey, but it's not, that we cannot compete with. And the Americans said under a certain price, there is not possible to produce honey anywhere in the world. And if you look at the supermarkets, here's some pictures from Germany. We have prices for half a kilo or a pound jar of honey for €1.93 in the lower right corner there, or €2.99 or €2.55 or €3.89 for organic honey even. And this is those are prices that are not realistic. No one can really produce honey for that kind of price range. It's not possible. That's what the American professional beekeepers said, and that is why they shut down the borders for such a cheap honey. The argument is you cannot produce honey for this price, and it's if you calculate it or do a reverse calculation from the shelf price down to the production price or the price that the beekeeper gets, this is less than 80 cents, and in most cases less than 50 cents per kilogram for the beekeeper, and you cannot make a living from this. Even in China or India or wherever, that's not possible. And in this reverse calculation, if you closely look at it, there's just one trader in between, and through the global network, you can be sure there are more than one traders in between, and every trader wants to have a markup, trade markup, but also has to add the taxes on top. And yeah, that's not possible to do this. And last year, the European Commission, the European Parliament, and everyone else, the European Anti-Fraud Office, issued a report that almost half of the honey was suspicious of being non-compliant. So it's basically suspicious to be fraud honey, adulterated honey, fake honey. And if you search the market, you can find fructose syrup, as they say, fructose syrup for honey food grade. So it's food grade fructose syrup for honey. And of course, fructose syrup has nothing to do with honey. And if you closely look at this right thing here that are not scored here on the line here, this is the test pass. So you can buy it with different qualities, and they guarantee you that it passes the European laboratory standard tests for authenticity. So that's what you can buy. So that's very interesting, yeah. And this includes even the sophisticated methods like NMR or HRMS. And so you can buy syrup by quality that appears to be honey. And what we did is we sent out some people who had to get some offers from the production sites or from the producers of fake honey, and they got the offers. And as you can see, you can buy this with different qualities, like $1.27 US dollar, that is, per kilogram without the NMR test possibility or NMR pass guarantee. But if you want the NMR proof sugar syrup, that is 170 US dollars per kilogram, and delivery and shipment already included. And you can, as you can see from the pictures here, you can really buy any color, any taste, like sunflower, buckwheat, lychee honey, or whatever. What you want, you get, any texture. And what they say is you can get it with a pass to the lab. It means that the usual laboratory test cannot detect this fraud and adulterated honey. It cannot detect the fake honey. And yeah, this is what the laborers all say. If you send the fake honey to the laboratories, it says, with regard to the parameter examined, the honey complies with the legal requirements by the EU Honey Directive. So, yeah, what the laboratories do is they look for sugar profiles and sugars, and if there are foreign sugars in the honey or in that sample, and if their sugar profile looks like honey sugar profiles do, they pass it and they say, okay, there's no foreign honey in it, or there's no sugar in it that does not belong to honey, and there's no difference between the sugar profile of the sample and real honey. So we just wondered, okay, how they do it, and we do not know how they do it yet, because it's not so easy to mimic the sugar profile of honey, because honey has lots of sugars and it's a special arrangement and composition, and it's not so easy. But what we suspect is that with modern technology and using genetic modified bacteria, they can make syrup to honey like sugar, and they basically program the bacteria to produce enzymes, and those enzymes can make any sugar profile you want, and this way you get syrup that looks like honey, and the lab test says it's honey because it has the same sugar profile. And actually, they advertise for it. They say the bacteria can independently control the production of enzymes, eventually achieving a product with the same sugar profile as real honey. This is from lots of websites. You can look at yourself. Can you look yourself up? And it's saying it can produce the properties of the honey, including its taste. This is what they say here, and they advertise it. Those who advertise it, like this one here, they are not producing fake honey and advertise it. They are producing honey without bees. Those companies that advertise it are producing vegan honey. Vegan honey is just syrup with the same sugar profile like honey, but what they say is that they can do it, and that is what we suspect the criminals are doing right now. They're using this technology to produce sugar profiles like honey and add the cheap sugar syrup to real honey to adulterate it and make big money out of it. And they flood the market with this stuff, and they say you can buy from us unlimited amounts of those honey. So how do we as a beekeepers know that it's fake? Of course, it is the price, because nobody can produce worldwide for or at that price real honey. That's not possible. And if you when we were testing it, we were tasting it, not only testing but tasting it and smelling it. And what we saw is that the honey that is fraud honey or adulterated honey, fake honey, it is there's a taste that explodes really quick, but it disappears. It disappears really quick too. So real honey, if you put it on your tongue, it will stay for a long time. The taste will stay, the smell will stay for like 15-20 minutes. And if you do this with fake honey, it's just like there's a taste, and the taste is away again. That's what we saw when we were taking the samples, and also we try to create our own laboratory testing. And one quote here from a professional beekeeper from Germany. When we took the samples and tasted it, he said, "I would stop eating honey if I had to eat this stuff as honey every day, or he would stop eating it because the taste was sometimes disgusting and also very, very strange to professional beekeepers' taste or tongue. Yeah, what we do right now, or what we did it right now, the European professional beekeepers and the German professional beekeepers bought 30 honeys from different supermarkets in different towns, and we also included one real honey from a neighbor beekeeper here as a control, so we can check if the methods work. And we do the blind testing. All the labs that we sent the samples to did not know which brand it was, if it's honey or not, if it's syrup or not, or whatever. And only we had the names and brands and so on. And the laboratories were blind testing the samples. We did the standard lab testings, and this includes the NMR, IRMS, HRMS, the oligosaccharides, and what they say is okay, it's all complies with the legal requirements. That was the results. Basically, they found some polysugars in it, and they were suspecting some feeding of syrups, but that's it, basically. All the samples passed it. That's what we expected because that's how they got the honey, the fake honey, into the supermarkets. Yeah, but as we know, they cannot produce it for real honey for this price. And we found someone in Estonia which does DNA bulk testing, and this will compare the DNA of the honey to the fake honey and can distinguish it. So that's what we did, and Estonia as a country did a really, really good job because the Estonian government, the scientists, the media, and all the journalists and supermarkets and the professional beekeepers, of course, they did a really great job to develop a new method to find and detect the fake honey, and that is the DNA testing. So, and that's what we are doing now on a European scale. We sample it. We took the samples. There's some pictures here. We were packing it, and we were just testing it, and we were sending it to the laboratories. It all was documented by a TV station, and it will be streamed soon. It was very interesting for the journalists to see what we did there. And also, we can tell our story as professional beekeepers, what was going on. We visited the laboratories. We were explained how they work and what they are doing, and what are the limits of the sugar profile testing, of course. And then I took some samples, and I fly to Estonia, from where we visited or where we tested for the DNA, and we prepared a little film here to show how it went. So this is what we did. I arrived there in Tallinn and met with the Ministry of Agriculture there, and we were talking to them. We were visiting bees of the president, and at the side of the president. And also we were visiting apiaries and beekeeping businesses there, just to show you how professional beekeeping looks like nowadays. There are real companies, there are real people and real families working very hard. We were talking to journalists and reporting what we were doing. That we are bringing samples from Germany. This is another honey company, the tool company of Davido, with real honey that tastes pretty good. I loved it. Yeah. And so that's where the laboratory site is, and that's where we went. I brought the samples myself, and they took it, and they, of course, prepared the samples, which includes some processes there, and then they did the DNA mass testing, mass bulk sequencing. This is DNA in there, in the tip of the pipette there. Yeah, and those are the results. And so the results are fantastic. If you see it the first time, you're very, very impressed because there's a lot of DNA in one honey sample. And they can test for viruses, for bacteria, for plants, all living things that are on Earth and have DNA is in the samples of the test results. And you can see this. We can really zoom into it. And the results are that from our samples that we took from Germany, from the German supermarkets, only three samples passed as a real honey, including the control that we introduced into the samples. And two other samples barely passed. They passed, but they had some comments because something was wrong, was just a little bit. But the main message for today is that 25 out of the 30, so 80%, were not typical DNA profiles for honey, which means it is fake or adulterated. 80% of all supermarket honey, and that is, that is a big news, and that is surprising even us. And we have to do something about it. How does it work? Okay, you do the mass sequencing of the DNA, and all organism groups are included in the results. Like 10 to 20 million DNA sequences are made for this analysis. And what we are looking for with the DNA test is the composition, proportions, and concentration. Because syrup doesn't have a lot of DNA, and if you mix in syrup, the concentration sinks. But also the composition, the proportions of DNA inside the honey will change if you introduce or if you mix in some syrup, or if it's real only syrup looking like honey. Yeah, and there are a lot of species, like more than 10,000 species there that are tested for and looked at. And of course, you make in a good profile of the plant species that's in there, and you profile the parasites and the pathogens of the honeybees. If you don't find any pathogens of honeybees inside a sample, of course, it's a failure, because there always are pathogens and illnesses in the beehive, of course, and you find it in the sample. Also, you find bee DNA in the sample. If you don't find bee DNA at all, it's not honey for sure, because it never has seen a bee. And in an extreme example, you find only spider DNA and only bacteria DNA in the sample. You know this for sure. That is fraud honey. This is pure fake honey. And usually you got a lot of plants in there, because bees and plants are working together. And the environment the bees live in are full of plants, and of course they're full of DNA of plants. And yeah, and if there are only 6 plants in the whole DNA spectrum, it's of course fake honey. It's cannot be true. And yeah, there's the same as with other stuff here. But we are not only using only one comparison of the profiles, but 4. So there are 4 different models to analyze the DNA profiles and look if the composition, proportions, and concentration of the DNA looks like the real honey. And if it does not match the profile, it is a fail. And if it doesn't fail, it's a fake. It's an adulterated honey. It's a fraud honey. That's it. If you want to look more in detail, check out the website of the laboratory. It's mda-test.com. and you find some more information about the method that we used. But the thing is that 80% of the samples that we took are adulterated or fake. And this is a situation that we have to change, because this is a crime against not only the beekeepers and the families, and not only against a crime against the bees that keep the nature intact and functional. It's also a crime against consumers, and because you want to buy honey in a store, when you're buying honey, and you want the healthy stuff, the good of the nature, that which is honey, and not syrup from factories that is possibly made by genetic modified bacteria. Even when thinking about it and shaking, it's not right, and it's a crime. And what we will do next is we send this results to the authorities on the EU level and also on the national level, of course. We also send the results to the police, because this is a crime and this has to be treated as a crime. And in fact, this is an organized crime, and organized crime means there's not only one person that, involved here. There's a group or network of people working here to sell syrup as honey, and that is not, yeah, that's not right. We have to change this. We also will inform the consumer protection, because you maybe as you watch as a consumer of honey, you are betrayed, and syrup is sold as honey, and it's not, and you're paying, yeah, money for something that is not even close to be honey. We also share the results with the public, because the public has to be informed, and also the public has to really talk to the politicians to change the situation, not just for the beekeepers but also for the bees, and yeah, to preserve the pollination in Europe. What you can do as a beekeeper right now is you have to really promote the local honey to friends, neighbors, and customers. You maybe do this anyways, because a lot of honey producers are really with whole the heart, wholeheartedly producing honey, and they mean it what they do, and they love it what they do, and this they promote also, of course. But we will do some protesting in the October, November this year on the European level. So please join the protests as beekeepers. What you also can do is you can replicate what we did as professional beekeepers associations. You can buy honey from supermarkets, from stores, send it to the lab to Estonia, let it test for DNA, and let it test if it's real honey or fake honey. And this will help us get a bigger picture of this, because we took some samples, of course, yes, but we have now to do it on a big scale. Usually the authorities have to do it, but yeah, it needs time for them to prepare and do it. But as beekeepers, we are more agile. We can do it ourselves. So I bought those samples for my own honey. Honey, own honey money, yeah, for my money, and you can do too. Buy a couple of honeys, send it to testing, let it test, and then we get a bigger picture. You can become a supportive member of our professional beekeeping associations that would help us doing our work. And you can check out the websites below from professionalbeekeepers.eu, or if you are in Germany, berufsimker.de. And yeah, become a supportive member and help pushing and help cleaning up the honey market. As a consumer, what you can do is buy real honey from real beekeepers. That's pretty easy. Find the local beekeeper near you and buy the honey there. Support them by buying your honey. Be very suspicious about blends and mixtures of different origins. I don't know. I think that the mixtures and blends are most possibly a good way to hide something. I don't say they are all bad, and but it's easier to hide something in blends. That's just a fact, nothing else. Talk about it to friends. Tell your friends that they do not buy honey from the supermarkets. Buy honey from the beekeepers. Real beekeepers also put their honey in the supermarkets. You can look it up. Where is the beekeeper? Look at the address. Look at the backside of the label. If it's EU, non-EU, mixture, whatever, I don't know. But if you look at it, there's an address nearby you. That's a beekeeper you can go to and buy honey. Yes, and support the bees and the beekeepers in any way you can. Provide some flowers by planting in. That would be helpful, anyways. So let's clean up the honey market. We got some 80% adulterated honey in the supermarkets. We have to clean up the situation, and we will. And we will make the beekeepers or the beekeeping business profitable again, so the families of the beekeepers can make a living from it again. And we will not give up until we achieve this. Because most people don't lose, most people give up, and we don't give up. So this is again, let's make Europe buzz again. Let's save the bees and let's save the beekeepers and let's get real honey back on the market and let's clean up the market from the fake honey. That's my talk for today. Thank you very much, and do the good work. Start helping us as professional beekeepers. This video is sent to you as an authority on a EU or national level. Please step up and help us cleaning up the market. It's really necessary that you from the government and from the authorities are helping us. It is important that the consumers are helping us. And if you are a beekeeper watching this, it is very important that we are staying together and fighting this off the market. It is necessary to save the bees and the future of beekeeping. Thank you very much.